All the readings, all the ritual for this evening's service speak to us of remembering things that cannot be forgotten. The Old Testament lesson from Exodus speaks of how the moment of delivery from slavery is to be recalled by the Jewish people in generations to come. This was to be a family celebration, with the sacrifice of a lamb and the eating of unleavened bread throughout the week of the festival. It's a solemn time to be humble and grateful, but also a time of joy. The Passover meal became a way of teaching each generation what God had done for his people in delivering them from slavery. The exact form of the ritual seems to date from the reforms of King Josiah, or even later, from the time of exile in Babylon. When the disciples gather with Jesus to share the Passover in Jerusalem, they cannot know that this will be their last supper with their friend and teacher. It should have been predictable. There's a clear script to use in the Passover meal. You can check it out online if you're interested. The drama comes when Jesus goes off script. He does two extraordinary things to amplify or redirect the Passover celebration. Firstly, he washes the feet of his disciples. The teacher and master takes on the role of the servant, and in the awkwardness that follows, Jesus tells his friends that this is how they are to live if they want to follow him. Then Jesus takes the unleavened bread and the wine on the table for the feast and offers it to his disciples with the words, "This is my body broken for you. This is the cup of my blood shed for you. Do this in remembrance of me." I'm guessing that any awkwardness that follows these startling words is soon eclipsed by the revelation that one of the friends at the table will that night betray Jesus. The fourth element closes the night and tips us over into the darkness of Good Friday and the cross. The recreation of the Passover meal, the confronting liturgy with the bread and wine, the awkward ritual of the foot washing by the Master himself, the knowledge of the betrayal of Jesus into the hands of sinful men, all of these come together in the one meal that we remember tonight. Each part of the story supports the others, so that the whole is infinitely greater than the sum of the parts. What does it mean for us? Can we connect the dots and grasp all that is happening at this moment? The disciples only come to understand what happened that night after the cross and the resurrection. The Passover was the easiest to understand, perhaps. The first Christians seem to have understood fairly quickly that they were the new Israel, called out of slavery to be God's people. It took a little while for the significance of the mystery of the bread and the wine to settle as the signature statement of our connection with Jesus. Certainly the words of St. Paul to the Corinthians, familiar as they are to us, are probably describing something a little different from the Eucharist we share. It took probably a century for the form of the service of the Eucharist to settle into the one we now know. And of course, we are still struggling with the meaning of the Lord and teacher who takes the form of a servant and calls us to do the same. 2,000 years on, it's still a confronting idea. Each year we struggle with the bigness of the Easter story. Each year we see something different in the narrative that chimes with our lives at that moment. This year there will be many Good Friday people who connect with the darkness and the shame of the betrayal that is at the heart of the story. Recently, we have heard the voices of women and girls raised in anger and grief as they tell their stories of bullying and sexual abuse that they have suffered in the workplace, in their social lives, even in the National Parliament. These people know what tonight's service wants to teach us. But other parts of the story have the capacity to break through and take our breath away. There are still things we can learn, however familiar the story is. The betrayal of Judas is one such aspect that has touched me deeply in the last 2 years. I don't know why I never noticed it, but Judas is there at the table when the most moving parts of this drama unfold. Jesus clearly knows that Judas has betrayed him. All the same, he washes his feet too. Jesus gives the broken bread and the cup of wine to Judas. Can there be a clearer demonstration of the meaning of the words in John's Gospel? Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them unto the end. The service on Maundy Thursday finishes with the solemn ringing of the bell while the ornaments are taken from the sanctuary, leaving it bare and dark. The abandoned church represents our grief, our shame, our loss. May we find in the words and ritual of this night a comfort for hurt and a focus of our hopes for the promise of new life implicit in the Easter morning.